This is the Millennials Podcast.
My name is Kayo.
My name is Nissan.
My name is Ashley.
My name is Rolf.
My name is Joseph.
They're recruiting people with subliminal messages. You're being brainwashed.
Yeah, probably. Ivanette Niage.
Hi, welcome to the Millennials Podcast.
Wake up, sheeple!
Mirpus Narfisage.
Whoa, this is a family podcast?
El Shazam Millennium.
Explain what you were doing there, Joseph.
Nothing. It's all a lie.
Oh.
Is that what you were saying?
No.
That's what I've been saying.
What are we talking about
As
today,
he's
guys?
saying that.
Conspiracy theories. Yeah, we all picked a subject. We researched it.
Ralph's going to be the mediator.
And now we're going to blow your mind.
Out of water.
Sorry it's been so long since we come out with one, but we went on a wonderful
been
trip
a while.
to the woods.
All together.
All together.
Away from all the men in black and the government where they could see us.
Yep.
What?
Off the grid.
Off the grid.
Or so we think, because so many of us used our Snap while away. And
It
that did
didn't
not
work.
make us
I'm
off the
definitely
grid.
not
it
off
didn't
the grid.
work when we were in the cabin. So
We were in a cabin in the woods, quite literally.
In the woods,
Guys,
in the mountain.
I'm like
In a
really antsy and my heart's racing because I'm also kind of scared because this stuff is like semi-real. I'm not kidding. The stuff I researched, it makes my heart.
not gonna
palpitate.
lie. Okay, so I sat down today with my computer and my notebook, and I just started taking notes. And I started feeling like maybe I shouldn't dig too deep into this.
Because then they'll know me.
I mean, it's already too late. You guys already Google searched it. They've already tied
It's
it to your
tainted.
name.
Your IP
We should-
addresses are tainted.
Well, I can at least burn my notes after this podcast.
I was doing some last-minute research in the
We'd have
music
to burn
room
them.
on the computer, and
Every
I
5
kept
seconds.
all the tabs open because I was like, I want to read this later on this week, even after the podcast. And I tried to put the computer to sleep. It would not go to sleep.
Oh my gosh.
It wouldn't.
Let's close these browsers
All right.
first, and then you can put it to sleep.
Yeah, we need to
It's looking out for you. It's a good computer.
we need to tread lightly.
All right, so we wanted to do this particular episode because I feel like we did two kind of serious ones in a row, and both of them had guests, and it'd be nice to do one that was just us
original gang.
5,
The core.
Circle.
and lots of laughs and all this kind of stuff.
Wait. This stuff is serious. Relax.
Mirpus
It is serious,
What do you mean?
Narfisage.
This is not
Some
to
of
be
it
taken
is
lightly.
a bunch of poopery and hoaxes.
It smells really
Just-
nice.
Mirpus Narfisage.
Are you going to podcast the entire time like that?
You're
No.
going to talk backwards the whole podcast?
No, those are just hidden gems for
Backwards.
everybody.
Yeah,
But it's
last
not
time.
backwards. This is
A lot of
language.
it's just that.
Okay, so we were playing on Snapchat and we're saying it
You're
forwards.
just gonna
and
re-say
then-
everything.
No, because remember when I tried, when I kept going and going, and eventually that filter disappeared.
Oh yeah,
From
Kyle
Snapchat?
kept using the backwards filter
'Cause it
that
was
has on
fun.
Snap over and over and over again. Mine is totally fine. I've probably used it as much as he has. His is totally gone.
His
Gone.
reverse feature has been redacted.
They revoked it.
Every filter.
Backwards
but that
is
one.
a perversion.
Conspiracy.
Narfisage.
Think about that, sheeple.
Before we dive into everything, I want to talk about two super relevant things that are going on right now because
Do you have nothing to do with
sometimes I feel like the
conspiracy
Millennials
theories? Or do they?
Millennials podcast is in its own.
Universe.
Yeah. So Pokemon Go, who's on that life right now?
Not me.
Whoa, Team Red, Valor, baby.
Same.
I'm just saying things. This sounds
just say things.
So yeah, Joseph is
I'm
Avid
level
player.
16, but that's because I've been locked out of the game 3 days.
Oh yeah, I'm level 32.
I don't
That's a lie.
believe it.
What?
I'm just kidding because I'm a
Crazy,
no
It's
go
hitting,
on the
it's hitting the
Pokemon
world.
Go.
So
Ashley and I are not playing. Can you guys give out your? I don't know how it works. Can you give out a name so that people can play with you or something?
No,
like that?
it's not
It
like
doesn't
that.
work.
Mirpus Narfisage.
Oh my gosh!
I am level 5 because I just wanted to be a part of a team.
High
You
five.
are.
I'm
You're
high
part of
fiving
the
him.
core.
He picked our team.
Yeah.
Everyone is hating on our team
Cool.
online. Like
I I started playing and I really thought I would be more into it, but
Same.
But then
a girl came along.
he caught
Oh,
a
yes.
girl.
Oh snap!
Let's bring that up really quick.
Yeah, that's
Ralph is the mediator tonight.
You don't need no Pokeballs to catch this one.
Oh my gosh,
vocals.
please. The reason that I was supposed to do my research on a topic and instead I ended up talking with the girl for way too long. So
Hi,
result-
Vanessa.
Sorry.
Hi, Vanessa. I'm
As a
throwing her
result,
name out
Ralph
there.
shall be the mediator.
yes, you will have to convince me all about your conspiracy.
I feel
Theories.
pretty good about that.
I don't. Hold on, someone's cable is.
Oh my gosh.
No, it was like.
It's Hillary Clinton. She's trying to tap into us.
Okay. Yeah, what if we start having a bunch of technical difficulties because.
What if we just
Yeah.
mysteriously commit suicide? Like all these folks dying up near the White House. What the heck is going on?
Oh, I'm
Tell
sorry,
us
that's
about
not
it,
true.
Hillary Clinton.
Okay, I don't know much, but my husband told me a couple weeks ago that one of the witnesses to speak against Hillary Clinton in the upcoming case mysteriously committed suicide, and today a second witness that was supposed to speak against her just
Was found
died.
dead.
Just died.
Found dead. Do you know any more information about it?
About those deaths?
Doesn't
Or
matter. It
another
doesn't matter.
death?
Wake up, sheeple.
So, what's the on the day history before we dive into everything?
It happened today, but a long time ago.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
July 20th, 1969,
Oh, yeah.
Neil Armstrong apparently landed on the moon.
Or did he, Kyo?
Which is, yeah. Oh, should I talk about that now?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's talk about Stranger Things really fast.
All right,
Stranger
Stranger
Things, new show on Netflix. It's really good. It has
it's
to do
amazing.
with conspiracy theories. It's like Stephen King, Steven Spielberg, The Goonies, and like some other
E.T..
80s
Well, that's
movies
Steven-
got together.
Everything wonderful and beautiful about the 80s mixed with sci-fi, which is basically heaven.
And good quality television.
Yes, cinematography, acting, it's all good.
On point.
You
5
should check it
stars.
out.
Way to go,
Does
Duffer
it
Brothers.
kind of remind you of what was that movie Super 8?
Oh yeah.
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 it
I got
Also Steven Spielberg.
Super 8 vibes.
is. Produced by.
Steven
Yeah,
Spielberg
produced
did not
by, yeah.
create this.
Excuse
you
me.
guys do know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's jump into the first one, which is
You, Kyle.
Did we land on the moon? Did we land on the moon? All right. So I did some research, some scary research, and I have some bullet points. There's so much stuff. There's so much content on the internet regarding whether or not the moon landing actually existed, if it actually happened, or if it was staged on Area 51. Just 51, no 50, 51.
50-51.
It's like half of Area 51. Anyway, all right. My first point. If you watch footage of the moon landing,
Footage.
the flag is waving. There's definitely no air in space. There's definitely no air, at least in the moon's atmosphere.
Last time I checked.
So NASA has an explanation to this, but I don't believe it personally.
What's their explanation?
They said that the flag was stored in a thin tube and it rippled when it was pulled out of the tube. That doesn't really.
That could happen. You know what it looked like to me?
But for an extended amount of time.
Neil
it's
Armstrong
moving
farted.
though.
In the video, to me, it looks like they starched it. You know what I'm talking about? As
Yeah.
if it's like
It kind of did
like,
look like
like
that.
it's
Flat.
like they
It's
ironed
hard.
it hard or something.
Yeah, but
you
if
know
it
what I
was
mean?
rolled up in a tube.
Right, exactly. So
And then
I'm just saying that's what it looks like.
and NASA also says that it could have been a reaction from the force from the astronauts touching the pole and moving the pole.
I saw that
Or-
on MythBusters.
Neil
Yeah.
Armstrong farted.
Or
For an opposing view,
it didn't.
for the listeners, you can go watch MythBusters trying to bust these things.
Oh,
But
there's
they don't bust several of them. Like they just don't even tackle it, and I'm like,
Yeah, there's also we watched together last week. Was it?
Yep.
On Netflix. It's called Conspiracy Theories, and it's called that's the title. And then it used to be a show, I guess. And yeah, it's about the moon landing. Anyway, moving along. The next point. there was no impact crater underneath the lunar module.
Yeah, dudes. What the heck is that? Go look at photographic evidence. No impact crater.
Yeah, so they've simulated, I guess, the lunar module landing. Here's NASA's explanation. When you see footage of a lunar module landing on Earth, there is an impact crater, a pretty significant one. So their explanation as to why there isn't one on the moon landing is because pretty much where they landed, they said it was pretty much solid rock. And there's a really thin layer of lunar dust there. Also, the gravitational pull is different on the moon, so it doesn't take that much force for a lunar module to land. So that one kind of makes sense to me.
That I believe.
But this whole solid rock thin layer of dust thing is kind of debunked by those massive footprints that look like they're in wet sand or something.
Right when they step off.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're
True.
all
Wet
over
sand. You need moisture for wet sand.
Exactly. You see? Mm-hmm. So those footprints were serious. And the lunar module also made no impression in the ground. And that thing weighs like 17 tons, way more than a person.
That's a lot more than a person. I
Because
know.
The footsteps.
Well,
That's-
that was
sounds
significant
funny.
because the footprints made an impression and the
I
17
see.
tons didn't.
You're like 17 tons. That's more than a person. I'm like, yeah, that's way more than a
I
person.
compare all my stats to people's weights.
17 tons is usually more weight than a person.
It's about
How much is
45.
a gallon?
Usually.
A gallon's less than a person, right?
And NASA also says that there was a lack of wind. That's why the footprints didn't blow away or anything like that. Which is like, I don't know. That flag did look like it was blowing. I don't know about that. Anyway, another thing is there were no stars in any footage. No stars.
Only
Maybe
footage
it was
or also
daytime.
pictures.
Pictures, no stars in pictures either.
Oh.
It could be
And
the aperture.
Black.
I don't know. I've never been to the moon, but I'm pretty sure there's no clouds on the moon, and there's no light pollution on the moon. And the theory is that NASA could not correctly map out the stars. They just didn't have the technology to map out the stars on the footage, because people would debunk.
The stars eventually.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Hey, where's Orion's belt? Where's the Big Dipper? Where's So they just didn't bother with the stars, and they said it was because of poor quality photos. And
I could kind of see that if
Like when you expose. For
yeah,
something,
right. When you expose for
you can't-
something,
you can
sometimes
either
that
have
stuff in the
foreground
background
or the background.
goes away.
But I want both.
I would think they
Dude,
would be
it's
so
the-
much brighter.
It's the moon. You can take a shitty picture of the sky on Earth with all the light pollution, with clouds and everything, and still get some stars in it.
Nowadays.
This is the moon. This is like way out there with the only light you have is the sun.
Yeah.
Which they also said it was a lunar morning when they landed.
Yeah.
So the sun washed out the stars.
Yeah, I mean the surface is very bright.
Yeah.
So
And also NASA gives different people give different answers. If you look at
yeah.
their responses to a lot of these conspiracy theories,
Just
which
like
kind of
they're
makes
not
them
sure.
seem like they're
Yes.
all over the place. They're scattering around trying to answer.
And that also is kind of because there's not solid answers, it seems like there's conspiracy, but it also could just be like, we're on the moon. So they weren't paying attention to every single detail, you know what I mean? They were just
Yeah.
like, wow, we completed the space race where America was the first ones here. So it's just like
Yeah, the space race. I forgot to mention that's the whole significance of the moon landing and why we had to get there first was because we were racing Russia. And I honestly
what would happen
think-
if we lost?
I really think
America
America
would
would look
as
different
weak.
today.
Yeah, probably.
If Russia would have gotten there first, I really think this country would be a completely different place today.
It probably would be. So
Don't know if it'd be better.
that would be
It actually
a
might be better.
point. Honest. It could be, but
Who
that would be
knows?
Putin would be
What? No! What kind of a name is that?
Putin.
Anyway.
Putting it down.
All right. So another theory is the shadows.
That's my favorite one.
Another one.
All right. So the sun is the only source of light out there. It's the strongest source of light. It's the brightest thing, right? So all the shadows should go parallel because they're coming from the same direction. But when you look at the picture, there's uneven shadow lines. Some of them are literally at a 40-degree angle from the other ones. So it looks like there's some unnatural lighting happening.
Most definitely.
And NASA's explanation is not a good one at all. Their explanation is that the moon surface is uneven, so it kind of distorts the shadows. But if you look at the picture, it's
All right.
Clearly, several light sources.
I did a little bit of research on yours too, just because Mythbusters did the debunking, and I think they're legit. So I watched it, and a lot of them were like, okay. But that one in particular was the one that sold it for me. I was like, that is so true. But they totally recreated that image, like right there for you, and it looked exactly like the image that was.
So
by doing what you
fake.
just said, they had no. They had one light. They only had one light.
Recreated it just like it. I'm just
Right,
kidding.
but they only had one light source, and then they shifted like some of the sand and like moved it around,
To make it look
and it
like
appeared
shadows.
in the camera as if the shadows were going this way in one part of the picture, and then another way in the other part of the picture. But the one that
you don't understand. What makes you think NASA didn't pay Mythbusters to make that episode?
True. They said that on the episode too. They're like, of course, we're the type of guys that would be hired to do this very thing.
Exactly.
They're like,
And
we
we
promise
are.
there's only one light source and whatever, all this kind of stuff. But then the other one that you didn't bring up though was
I'm not
like
done.
No,
Oh, you
no,
thought I was
with the
done?
light.
Oh,
Like the picture where he's getting off, and he's in the shadow of the lander,
Oh, yeah.
And he's
but
illuminated.
he's super illuminated,
Yeah.
and then everything else is dark in the shadow. That one is still like, I don't know
Could you
about
say
that.
couldn't
There's
solve
so
that one?
much. There's so
They,
much.
that's
with
what I said. They
this.
skipped certain things. They didn't even mention it at all. They only mentioned the shadow.
Guys,
off the
Not possible,
surface.
I'm really
people.
scared. I'm really scared.
Not
guys.
possible.
All right, I'm gonna close this out with my last point. All right, so this is the one that really did it for me. So there's two photos, two pretty famous photos actually, of from the moon landing, and they have duplicate backdrops. Like you can overlap these images, and the horizon in the background, it's like some mountainous looking things. They are the same. It's like it's very clear that they're the same image. Yet NASA listed these two photos as being taken miles apart. But who knows? Like, how do they have identical backgrounds? And in one of the pictures, the terrain is all rough, and it's just like a rough terrain with the horizon. And then in the other photo, it's a fairly smooth terrain, and there's the lunar module happens to be in that picture as well.
Suspicious.
And NASA's explanation to that is another crappy one, which is that the moon is much smaller than Earth, so the horizons can appear closer to the human eye. Does that make sense? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Just to the human eye, but I mean, it was a camera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I strongly encourage all you millennial listeners out there to look up these pictures and tell us what you think. Ralph, what do you think?
I think, I mean, this is child's play. Of course, it was fake.
Child's play.
It's child's play.
Of course, it was fake. The moon is not even real. It's moon is a hologram.
Flar.
It's projected onto a a satellite put there by the government so that they can perform experiments. So, I mean, sure, you did some pretty good research, but the moon's not even real. So.
You have a tiny bit of a bias though, because your young mind was shaped by a documentary you saw.
Well, it wasn't. It was
How
not
old were
about
you?
the hologram. It was actually the one that Kyle was referring to earlier.
Yeah, I know. How old were you when you saw it though?
I was, I don't know, maybe 12,
Yeah.
and my parents were like, "Oh my gosh,
And
what's
rebellious. And you just wanted to believe anything.
happening?" Sure.
I'm so
Whatever,
conflicted
people.
because I almost feel silly saying that it's fake because it's hard for me to wrap my mind around the government being capable of doing that. But after reading up on it and looking at all these points, I'm just like, dude, it's pretty fake. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And the director, dude. The director who directed the movie.
The moon landing.
Yes, but the
Stanley
Shining.
Kubrick?
Shining, yeah. They
Yeah.
said that he directed that moon.
Yeah, so there's another theory that Stanley Kubrick, who directed The Shining and a bunch of other stuff, directed, I think, Space Odyssey. was one of his movies, and it was
That
it
piece
came
of
out
junk.
it came out a year before the moon landing, and the theory is that was his practice before recording and staging and all of that for the moon landing.
And he left like clues in all the movies he's done afterwards with like Apollo 13 stuff and like.
Yeah, there's like people. Someone is wearing a shirt that says Apollo 13. There's some numbers and whatever. But yeah,
I think that one gets me the most.
Yeah, I think we should stop though, because I'm like.
That's okay.
Yeah, because I already explained it away. The moon is a hologram. It's just a satellite where the government performs experiments in safety.
All right, Ralph, you need to dictate who's next.
So C+, see me after class. All right, I'm gonna go with Joseph.
You guys know the World of Warcraft movie, right?
Kinda.
Sure.
I mean, I know it
Recently
exists.
came out, right?
And it got like really bad reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
I do know that because
Like,
I
super
kind of wanted
bad.
to see it because I know nothing about Warcraft and
Same.
it didn't look that
Right?
bad.
Same.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple friends. I haven't seen it myself, but I have a couple friends who went and saw it and said it wasn't that bad. Of course, it's got its flaws, but it's not as bad a movie as Rotten Tomatoes makes it out to seem. So I was pretty curious, and this guy Paul I work with, he told me about this theory.
So what is the theory?
The theory is that Hollywood purposefully gave bad reviews to this movie so that it wouldn't succeed because they did their marketing in China. Or they did their marketing not in Hollywood, China.
China. That's for you, Trump.
How do we say China backwards? Anyways, so yeah, I think that's it. That's my theory. I'm just kidding. So I'm gonna start reading from this article, which is pretty, I feel, legit.
Yeah. What's your legit source?
Stump Fool Master,
From where?
Reddit.
Ah, credible indeed.
That is the front page of the internet.
All right, yes, it is. It is truly. All right, the NDA was violated for Warcraft, which means that the reviews were let out earlier than they should have been, because you're not supposed to give movie reviews until like later, until it's released. And I don't know. There's rules to that.
Okay.
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 And it was 2 weeks before the movie was released that they started giving it bad reviews, like Rotten Tomatoes and places here were giving it bad reviews. Ratings or reviews can make people want to go movie or want to not see a movie. Like, that's the only reason I hadn't seen it,
So you
because of the
think
bad reviews.
Rotten Tomatoes intentionally gave it bad
But
reviews.
what's the
I feel like
conspiracy
there's
though?
power
What's
behind
bad
it.
about it going to China, being marketed from China?
Well, because it's cheaper there, and then everybody else would start using China instead of Hollywood.
It's not Hollywood. Hollywood wanted to be in control of everything.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hmm?
What if Warcraft is just a really crappy movie and and they got bad reviews because they did all their crap in China?
But to be worse than Batman
China.
versus Superman?
Listen, I know that's a feat to be worse than Batman versus Superman.
I don't think many movies can be that
Hey,
bad.
that's not true because me and Ashley kind of liked it.
Yeah, well, you guys are sheeple, so all right, boom, that was easy. Debunked your theory. All right. So let's get into something really meaty. I know Ashley did a bunch of research, so
All right. So my topic was, and I'm kind of scared to talk about it, but I will. U.S.
State your
government
full name for the
sanctioned-
record. Social.
Shanae. U.S. government sanctioned experiments. Now, throughout the 1900s and to now, I found a ton of different varying topics, but a lot of them had to do with the U.S. military running a bunch of experimentations on our servicemen and on civilians without our recognition or awareness, including LSD, hallucinogenics, a bunch of different diseases like gonorrhea, what's another one? Malaria. So
you're
I'll
saying
start
the
now.
government is like intentionally giving us these diseases?
There is proof, and I will share it. Throughout history, the U.S. government has done quote-unquote secret experiments on different populations. Okay, maybe not
Just say
necessarily
it.
cities in
Just
themselves,
say who.
but yes, cities in
We know
themselves, because
who.
I will give the example. But on inmates in certain prisons, on their own U.S. military
Getting warmer.
servicemen, Okay, so here's one. Have
Black
you
people,
ever
actually.
heard?
Black people.
No, there's one
Just
on
say
black
it.
men in prison
Kyle.
who were given
People of
diseases.
color.
They were given. Okay, in the very beginning stages. Oh, you want to go that way,
Mutant
Kyle?
gene.
You want to go that way? I'll
Gave
go
them
that way.
big-
I know who they
wieners.
did it on.
Who they did it on?
In the ghettos. The ghettos were created by the government, and they were inflicted with drugs and diseases.
The government was made by Hitler.
Okay,
Oh my
here's
gosh.
one.
I mean, the ghettos. That's what I meant. Not the government.
When the government
Ghettos.
was discovering the flu vaccine, right, and trying to treat the flu. This was in the 1940s. According to the Associated Press review of past research, they found that federally funded study began in 1942 where the experimental flu vaccine, was injected in black male patients at a
Wait.
state
Why you had to say Kyle, black man?
you brought up
Why are you
black-
pointing it to me?
You brought up. You said, "I know who they did it all. They did it all black people."
Whose voice is that? Oh my god!
Watch the
Whoa!
impressions here.
What's going on? My life
That's
matters.
my man impression.
Okay.
That sounded like a jive turkey man.
Do you hear yourself? A job, turkey man.
was-
If
I was
I did
mimicking
it,
you.
it's
Whoa, I didn't hear
prejudice.
that,
But if you
Ashley.
just spoke that way,
What's going on over here?
delete all of that.
No, that's funny.
Delete the truth. What are you, Hillary?
Oh no! Actually, am I gonna mysteriously die tonight?
Oh.
China.
All right, continue.
Continue. Continue.
According to the Associated Press review of past research, they found that federally funded study began in 1942 where experimental flu vaccine was injected in male patients at a state insane asylum in Michigan, where they then exposed them to the flu months later. Now, this is in the very beginning stages of the flu vaccine, with no approval from the inmates or anything of the sort. The government sanctioned these flu vaccines to get tested on them, and then they were given the Many of them had psychological and physical traumas after doing so because it was in the beginning stages. They hadn't down packed it.
Even though I don't think it's
to a certain
right,
science.
I'm sure at that time prisoners probably didn't have quote unquote rights.
But a lot of the qualms that people had, especially during the 1940s, was everything that happened in the 1940s were the Nazi they were discovering the experimentation that they were doing on the Jews and certain individuals. So America had an extreme problem with that certain type of activity. So that's why that
Because
activity
it
that
was-
happened here was kept secret. And then when it was discovered later on, a bunch of people had, extreme concerns about those certain different types of experiments because they found it was no different.
Like,
People-
no
We were
different
doing
from
it to our
Nazis.
own
Yeah.
people, and we hated the Nazis for doing. I mean, even though they did it to extreme levels, they were doing it to their own civilians. Here, I'll give you another one. Have you guys ever heard of Project MK Ultra?
Negative.
Yeah.
That's the name of a
Ultra?
band, isn't it?
It's
MK
the name
Ultra.
of a festival.
What do you know about it, Ralph?
I don't remember. I just remember being on that weird part of YouTube.
Okay, Project MK Ultra was a CIA-funded and run mind control program. I'm not kidding. Experiments on humans were done to identify and develop drugs and procedures to be used in interrogations and torture in order to weaken the individual to force confessions through mind control. Okay, primarily what was used was LSD. Okay,
Well, that's
this
not that
was
bad.
sanctioned,
Yeah.
officially sanctioned without consent. It was officially sanctioned in 1953. Apparently, it stopped in 1973. Maybe that specific project and program, but it did not stop with the U.S. military because there are a bunch of different cases that I have here and I will share where the government continued to do that on an extreme scale, LSD with other types of drugs.
Wait.
Sounds
in
fun.
the military, you're saying?
So
Yes.
So they gave
servicemen
their-
got paid to do drugs.
They were not,
Instead of
they
get
were
shot.
administered the drugs without ever being told.
But
So
They were given
paid?
drugs for certain reasons.
But were
of
they
course, U.S.
paid?
military are served by the government.
Were they
But you're
in
told you're
action?
serving your country, but you're not told this is what it entails. This is what we're going to do to you. These are long-term effects of your loyal service.
Pardon
to
my
our
ignorance,
country.
but what are the effects of LSD? What does it do to the body? Does anybody know?
It's
I
a
think
hallucinogenic.
Like the
It's a
Beatles more.
hallucinogenic. There are
So
some
why
people
would they
that
want
do
a
not
bunch of
have good
hallucinating-
experiences.
Why would they want a bunch of hallucinating soldiers out in the field?
They believe that it would weaken the mind, which would enable them to control people easier with interrogations and such. They would be able to get the
Soldiers.
truth more. They would test it on their soldiers because they had quote unquote willing subjects that they controlled. And if they knew that it worked,
Then they would use it.
then they
on
would
their
use it
enemies.
on exactly.
So they didn't just like mass just give all the soldiers LSD.
No.
It was a sample of
no,
soldiers.
everything
that
was a
they-
controlled study.
Got it. Okay. Just trying to make sense.
So
of it.
apparently it was
Who said that they were trying to control? That's in the study that they were trying to control, or
Well,
that's the
MK
person?
Ultra mind control.
no that. Okay, I'll give you another one.
Yeah. Well, if
That
it's
was the
called mind
purpose. That was the purpose of.
Right,
their
but that's what you're
project.
saying. The purpose is. Is that what they
That's
state
what
their
they-
purpose
yes.
was? Okay.
Yes. Here's another one. This is more
control.
recent.
Another one.
The Rockefeller Report. Do you guys know who John D. Rockefeller was?
The New York guy.
Say it for the people who don't know who it
Illuminati?
is.
Illuminati. Illuminati.
The Rockefeller Center guy, right?
All right. John
Is
D.
he?
Rockefeller chaired from 1993. Yes. The family. John D. Rockefeller chaired from 1993 to 1994 on the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs. Okay? On this Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, they conducted a comprehensive analysis of the extent to which veterans participated in such research while they were serving in the U.S. military. Such research included investigational drugs, hallucinogens, radiation exposure, mustard gas, and numerous other drugs that were used on them. This happened for at least 50 years. The Department of Defense ignored ethical standards and often in secret performed experimentation on countless civilians and military U.S. personnel.
So where?
So in 1994, this was brought in a hearing, in two hearings, May 6th and August 5th. This was brought to two different hearings. In this report, they discovered everything that the DOD had done for the last 50 years and had continued to do, even though, according to society, it had stopped.
Okay. What was the evidence of this happening? Were there witnesses? Were there people coming forward and saying,
Yes, you
I
can read the whole
was-"
report. It's like
So there are people that said I was experimented on.
yes.
Like
Here's
a lot.
here's another one. I'll give you a case where a U.S. serviceman went to this U.S. Supreme Court and they ruled against him. In 1987, in U.S. versus Stanley, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled against a U.S. serviceman who was literally given LSD as part of a military experiment without his consent, and they told him he could not sue the U.S. Army for damages that was part of his service.
You know, I just got one thing to say about all of that.
Shoot.
Millennials would never let none of that happen. All of that happened in generation.
Well, you
baby
wanna know
boomers.
something now?
I'm just kidding.
Millennials
No.
are participating in it
No.
in this very day.
in their own free
No.
will.
Are they really?
Here's
How do you know
another
that?
one. This is not LSD.
Wait. You can't move on from that. How do you know that?
What?
Yeah, she's saying it right now.
I'm gonna give you another experimentation that millennials are participating.
Oh,
in.
okay.
Okay.
Keep up, Dad.
Okay. Have you guys heard of DARPA?
Yeah.
You mean Dharma?
No.
No,
DARPA.
DARPA.
Dharma
What's
Initiative?
DARPA?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Ralph keeps saying yeah, but what's DARPA, Ralph?
I don't quite remember, but I know they're,
But I have
they're
heard
an
it.
official like
Okay.
organization
DARPA
because they were in Metal Gear Solid game. So
Which
continue.
makes sense
Continue.
Seems
to
legit.
what I'm going to share.
Go
It's
ahead.
very interesting. I did not know that. I'm not a gamer. Listen to this. DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
Ooh, that sounds scary. That sounds like something.
They're
in Resident
commissioned.
Evil.
They are a commissioned advanced research group for the DoD,
What's
the
DoD
Department
again?
of Defense.
Defense. Yeah, I knew.
The folks I was just talking about.
Dodd.
I knew that.
Okay. According to numerous
Questioning me.
sources, sites, theatlantic.com, activepost.com, like a ton.
The Onion.
Back
Reddit.
in 2012, this agency had a $2 billion yearly budget for research into creating a super soldier. I am not kidding. A super soldier, as well as creating and developing a synthetic police force.
Yeah, that's just
Oh.
Captain America and RoboCop.
Yes, but in real life.
Yeah, that's a real
I
real
call
life.
bullshit.
So they're working.
I thought those were documentaries.
It's not.
They are. Marvel.
All right, Ralph, this is
Listen,
really where we need a moderator.
They
here,
are
'cause I
working
feel like this
with
is
the
BS.
human genome, and with that, DARPA hopes to
X-Men.
manipulate certain gene expressions. In experimentation, DARPA and the military industrial pharmaceutical complex are using natural abilities that are enhanced through genetic engineering. Penn State University, I'm going to call someone out. Jonathan Moreno, who's the professor of bioethics at
what have
Penn
you
State
done?
University, is working with the DoD. It's common knowledge. Is working with the DoD in understanding neuroscience.
It's not. None of us
Do you
knew
want to
that.
know how much the Pentagon has allocated towards this
Here we
type
go.
of research that has been distributed to certain states?
How much?
666 million.
$400 million.
Close.
That's a drop in the bucket for the government. 400 million.
400 million. Penn State alone was handed out 40 million to develop memory controlling implants.
I mean, but
Now you have this
how
professor.
cool would it be if they did it?
This is only in 2012. This is only 4 years ago. He's teaching millennials. He's instilling millennials. Who knows the type of people that are getting researched on right now?
Wait, okay. So are you talking like steroids type of influence? Or are you talking like building robots type
Genetic engineering. I do not have an exact.
Because that's
Procedural
Are
list,
they like
but-
modifying? Are they like
Yes.
enhancing
Yes.
people?
According to
Or are
them,
they
they're using
creating
natural abilities and
cyborgs?
enhancing them. Jude,
X-Men.
Engineering.
Making X-Men.
is it? How crazy is this?
I kind of want to see like the stuff they can do.
I want to see it happen.
I'm a little excited about that actually.
How crazy
They
is
can
this?
experiment on
It
me.
is crazy, but I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's way cooler than
Weapon
LSD.
X.
Illuminati, get at
Again,
me.
millennials, we're just doing it right.
Oh my god.
They wasted their time on
Okay.
LSD. We're making superhumans over here.
Give me some metal bones and healing power.
The drug was administered in a drink of water given at the start of each day's exercise. 25 minutes later, the first effects of the drug became apparent. But 1 hour and 10 minutes after taking the drug, with one man climbing a tree to feed the birds, the troop commander gave up, admitting that he could no longer control himself or his men. He himself then relapsed into laughter.
My thing is, this is pretty extreme. This is, to me, comic book material, right? I'm not saying
Truth
It's
is
not
stranger than
possible.
fiction, right?
it's the question of whether or not we should be doing things like this, or whether or not, rather, our U.S. government, people that we've apparently have allowed to run for office and rule in the name of our society as American people, should we give them this type of power?
That is a really good question.
I mean,
And-
they're doing things that we're not even aware of.
Well, they're not really even in control. It's actually the Illuminati. It's a world government right now, and the U.S. government. We didn't even like those people. They were just the Rockefeller people. They were just like, yo, we want the money. It's all the banks. Illuminati, confirmed. Boom. That's why it's happening.
I mean, did you guys even
people-
know that in 77 there were Senate hearings on the health and scientific research that confirmed that 239 populated areas had been contaminated with biological agents? Okay?
What is that?
Between 1949 and 1969, just to see how the population resulted from the release of these biological warfare agents.
Like-
Some of them, San Fran, Washington, D.C., Key West, Panama City, Minneapolis, St. Louis.
But what did it do?
Research.
Okay, so
What do you
like,
mean research?
kinda
There were
like-
some people that died from it. There were some people that were affected. All of them were
But what was it?
affected in numerous ways. It's too many to account for right now.
So kind of like whenever you see like an airplane fly through the sky, that kind of thing,
Chemtrails. Yeah.
Chemtrails.
like that.
I don't know what I think about those.
but
It's pretty simple, Jason. The chemtrails, those little streaks in the sky, those are just chemtrails that we put in there in the sky
Yeah.
It's
to
biological
control the
warfare.
masses.
I've
It's
heard-
obvious. It's common knowledge.
I've heard that there's no reason for those trails to be there other than they're releasing something, but at the same time, the amount they're releasing, do you know how dense that would have to be to actually like do anything to us? Because it's so
It's enough
tiny
apparently.
in the huge sky. What? Because I'm denying it.
Yeah. I think. Didn't you just get your pilot's license?
No.
In his dreams.
It's pretty convenient, Jason.
All right. So what do you think?
Yeah.
do you
What's the
actually
verdict,
think?
Ralph?
The government is establishing victims of science. But
But
my
we get
concern is that
X-Men.
it's not even with our knowledge. If we were willing, or certain people were willing, then that's one thing. But to do it unwillingly,
Do you think there would be people willing though?
Yeah. Part of me.
No one has
Why
free
not
will.
ask?
Part of me is just like, man, the government is just gonna do things without us knowing, and I gotta just kind of be okay with that. Sort of.
no.
No,
you
I
never
don't think you have to be
with it.
okay with
Like,
it.
what is me not being okay with it gonna do?
Make another government and
That's
then
your
that
weak
more secret
mentality.
I mean,
Kind of, yeah.
I guess.
You're just like, whatever.
It's like seeing a bulldozer coming at you and you're just like, well, I'm going to die one day.
Yeah, I'm just going to die one day, so might as well be now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like low
I'm not
key.
saying you got to stand up and fight against them physically or start a movement. I'm just saying, like, you don't have to let it be done to you. If that makes any sense.
Low key devil's advocate, by the way. But yeah,
Really?
got you. Yeah,
Low key?
low key.
That's pretty in my face. Our
Oh.
face.
Was it? I could go harder.
Ooh.
Mm.
Oh, here's one. where
Yuck.
It's
That's what
basically
the government
same thing I've
said.
been saying, but according to history.com, there's the Edgewood Arsenal drug experiment history. You know, History Channel, that network or whatever.
I don't know if
They-
they're
that's-
not
that's not-
trusting
Yeah,
network.
they're kind of cray.
They are also controlled by the Illuminati. Just saying.
That's true. But they did release that during the fear of the Cold War, classified army research program was established, and it distributed and induced unsuspecting army grunts, basically as guinea pigs, with marijuana, PCP, mescaline, LSD, and delirium-inducing chemical called BZ. I've never heard of BZ. But some of them were dosed with potentially
pretty dope.
lethal nerve agents without their awareness. Potentially lethal nerve agents such as sarin and VX.
Don't
come
you
on.
just hate that?
You're just gonna let that
Sarin
happen?
and VX.
And BZ.
I don't know if I believe every single one of them, but I definitely believe for sure that the government does stuff like that, because once you move past an animal trial, the only thing next is human trial, and I'm assuming it's something that needs to be done to humans, or
Bro,
they're trying to
what
do
would-
to humans.
What would stop them? Really?
Well, that's the thing. If right, all these people are signing up and they have contracts under the government, be it servicemen or whatever.
Exactly.
What is to stop them from just using this massive bodies they have that will just do whatever they say, pretty much?
Yeah. So how do we stop them?
We can't. They have the
frantically
X-Men.
looking
I'll
around the
tell
room.
you little ways that we can stop the government
Little
from
Wayne.
controlling us.
Go
You want
ahead.
little ways?
Little
Not
Wayne.
using your fingerprint to open up your iPhone. That's a little way.
I just rolled
Um,
my eyes.
Here's
That
another
eye
one.
roll was almost
Excuse
heard in your microphone. the eyes
Not
rolling.
sharing where you are every minute of the day on social media
What are
is
they
another
gonna do
way.
about that?
How is that going to control a chemical warfare from the
Maybe
government?
going to the library rather than researching a million things on the internet. So then ads are specified for you, and the government knows what you like and do not like, and where you are when you aren't.
Yeah,
But I like
But
when
then-
the ads are
That's a
specified to
totally
me.
different subject.
But then if everyone gathered in
No,
libraries,
but those
then
are
it's more
little
centered and they
ways
can
that the
all
government
poison
is
us in there.
aware of your knowings, of your position, of everything like that. And if you don't want the government or Big Brother to be on top of you, those are certain things that you can do to elude that.
I hate it when my big brother would get on top of me.
Okay.
That's not okay. Was there
Actually, I'm not going to go deep into it at all, but
Many Big Brothers.
many people would say that social media in itself is kind of a small conspiracy theory, in a sense that we give up all the information that the government would normally have to try to find about us. We're just like throwing it up there out for the world to see.
They could
Yeah,
see
but
all
then
the
again,
and
things
they
if,
can
you're, if
just-
you're not doing anything like where they need to find you, then why do you care?
I understand that. I'm just saying, like, they can just go to Facebook and purchase all the data they want, or hack all the data they want, and not have to do any searching themselves, because we already put it up for them, depending on what it is. Like the people who self-convict, like they go buy illegal guns and then they post it on Facebook and like, hey,
Yeah,
and then
those
they
people are
get
stupid.
busted. Like,
But
of course,
no devil's advocate here. This is really what I believe on all of that. I don't care about my fingerprint. Like, technically, the government already has my fingerprint because I've been to jail before. So, me putting my fingerprint on my phone, oh no, they have another copy of my fingerprint. Like, I kind of don't care if I'm not doing anything illegal where I'm worried about the government finding me. I don't care if they know that I'm at work or if they know that I'm taking a shit. I don't care.
As long as they can like help out, like if I could get lost or something. Hopefully
that's the
then
good part.
they can
Okay,
find
so
me.
if I call 911 and hang up quick, they know where I am. Like that kind of stuff is helpful, I guess. But I understand why it's scary because it's the government controlling us and the government just being involved in things that they shouldn't, I suppose. But then the other part of me is just like, I don't know if it's like the apathetic part of me, the millennial apathetic mindset of just like, meh. I mean,
I know what you mean.
yeah. So that's me.
All right, Ralph.
Well,
You have to grade me.
your grade? I mean,
She had 4 pages
she had
back and
4
front.
pages. I'm not sure how I feel about
She had an
teacher's
answer
pet
for
over
every
here.
question.
She had
bet.
she had
Jason
dates.
and
She had drugs we
Really?
ain't never heard of.
She
All right.
had Ultra Fest. Do you think it's a coincidence they called it that?
No.
Ooh.
Oh.
Snap.
Thanks, Joey.
Dude, there's like 1 million people there at least.
And what are they doing? They pass around
Drugs?
Okay, just in
There's
case
so many drugs there.
Yeah, just in case people don't know what Ultrafest is. Like if you're in the Midwest or something and you never heard of it, it's a festival that happens. Does it happen somewhere else other than here? In
No, but I
Miami?
mean it's Bonnaroo, it's Coachella, it's all of that. It's
but
Ultra.
Ultra's like I know what you
Rave.
mean, but Ultra's like really.
Miami
Glow
Woodstock.
sticks.
Yeah.
Underwear.
It's intense. It literally
Sweating.
it's a festival that takes over the city of Miami for a few days.
Very intense.
Yeah.
People having sex with palm trees.
Zombies walking around.
Yeah, Ultra season. There's plenty of
People eating
crazy
faces.
videos.
Didn't
I
Miami
wanna
ban it?
move.
Ultra?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Wasn't this one that just
Miami-
happened, the last one?
Absolutely not. Miami does not want to deny that amount of money. That
No. They
traffic.
do. They do. I think
No.
in the end, the money is what won them over.
You
But
said
there
ban
was
Ban it?
some government official that was like, "This is filthy and disgusting, and I don't want this a part of the city
I think
anymore."
that's
Where did that guy
Memorial
go?
Day.
Did they shoot him?
No, it was not Memorial Day. I read all about it, but last year, not this year. So it's been a while.
Been a while.
Hold my
Head up high.
All right.
Okay. all right.
Yeah. So
Is that Nickelback?
I have no idea, but
Nickelback was created by the government.
Ashley,
An Ultra.
you get A+.
Oh snap!
But also, like seriously, don't be teacher's pet.
Ooh. I really feel like Ashley, like if the government comes for us, you're first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ashley,
la
you're gone, and they're gonna be like,
elastic.
none of these jokers took anything serious.
I'm gonna be
Yeah,
the safest.
la-
Well, I didn't go yet.
Yeah,
Oh no.
Well, that'll
but
be
you're,
the easiest to do. You guys are married.
but you're a white
True.
male,
They-
so you're safe.
They
Or is he? Look
They
at all these
moved
white
away.
males that are dying
Yeah.
when they're gonna go witness against
I'm
Hillary
not-
Clinton,
Yeah.
committing suicide
Did you
and
know their
dying
race?
mysteriously.
Well, if they didn't say their race, then
Yes,
it's white.
what
'cause
about
they only say
Oh.
black
Vince
people.
Foster. What happened to him?
Damn,
Huh?
son.
What about the kid in the gorilla cage that no one said his race?
All right, Ashley, you get an A+. You did a pretty good job. Probably too good a job though. So I'm not sure how long you might
Be around.
be around.
No.
So yeah, let's just jump right to Jason
All
and
right.
see what his conspiracy is.
I feel like this was one of the biggest conspiracies in our lifetime so far since we've been born.
In sync.
NSYNC and the whole boy band era. I wish I could turn into Morgan Freeman right now because I'm not going to do a great job sounding good for this, but
I want to
the
be more.
World Trade Center.
Oh shit.
That's a good one. Come on, babe.
George
All right.
Bush doesn't care about black people.
Oh. Kanye West said that on live television in case anyone didn't know that. not
I
too
wonder what
long
he-
after
Oh my
the
gosh,
crashes.
you made
Oh my
Ralph have a
gosh.
seizure.
Hey, he's going for president, so he can change that. You know.
Oh yeah, Kanye West 2020.
2020.
Don't vote for him.
Would he be the first millennial running for? Wait, when was he born?
I think he might be the
He's
first
too old.
black.
I think we
I'm
might
just
be wrong.
kidding, guys. Because people argue that Obama's not actually black.
So what about these World Trade Centers? What are you referring to?
All right, so I'm sure.
Where do they trade? What worlds?
I don't know how to be serious about this one though.
Go ahead.
After all that,
You don't know how to be serious about the World Trade Center?
after
How
all that,
insensitive are you,
dear.
Jason?
after all
No.
Hundreds died, Jason.
Gosh.
thousands.
Same thing. There are hundreds and thousands.
There are hundreds and thousands and millions.
Just depends on how you count it.
All right, September 11th, 2001, World Trade Center is struck. United Airlines Flight 175 hit the South Tower. American Airlines Flight 11 hit the North Tower. American Airlines Flight 77 hit the Pentagon. And United Airlines Flight 93 crashed into a field near the Diamond T Mine in Stony Creek Township, Pennsylvania.
I always forget about that one.
Yes, that one is often forgotten. And what's very strange is that one was... Let's start with that one since it's the least...
Obscure.
Yeah, it's the most obscure, yeah. That one crashed. It was meant to... It actually went off radar for a while. They knew it was hijacked, and it went off radar. And no one knows where it was when it was off radar. And then it suddenly appeared back on radar just before it crashed. And when it crashed and everyone was like rushing to it, they stopped everyone from rushing to it, and not many plane parts were seen at all by anybody. And apparently, I believe I read, but I'm not going to claim this one, that very few bodies were actually identified, even though they know who they were that got on the plane, but very few were identified dead.
Afterwards.
So there were people...
In other words,
unaccounted for?
bodies were not found and some were not recognized. Which is understandable. It's a plane crash. But at the same time, why were they keeping everyone so far away? How come they never really saw very many plane parts at all being pulled away? Everyone said that it was very quiet when it crashed. It was just silence. There wasn't a burning fire or any ambulances. Like their sirens weren't on. They just showed up and were like, don't come over here. Anyways, I don't think that one's very important. The next very interesting one is the Pentagon. So one of the serious problems with the Pentagon is the main thing that gets me is that there are no impact marks on the ground whatsoever, which means the plane would have had to have been flying just inches or feet above the ground all the way until it hit the Pentagon.
The building.
And one of the things that
Why couldn't it nosedive?
It didn't.
It didn't.
No, it hit this right on the side perfectly. Now, one of the things that I think is super notable is that the flight instructors, because all these guys went to flight school for some period of time.
Some of them.
They said that they sucked like terrible, and several of them pulled out in August, which means if they sucked at flying in August, how all of a sudden
did they become experts in September?
in 1 month did they?
May I
And they
say
sucked at
something?
flying small planes.
May I say something?
Yeah.
Maybe in the simulators they sucked because they were practicing.
No,
crashing into-
actual planes.
real planes. They were flying real small
Oh.
planes.
Okay, so never mind.
And then the other thing is the one that hit the Pentagon came and did a maneuver that was very hard to do so that it would
Expert level.
hit the side. It actually came in and
Did a loop before.
It did a loop to descend at a proper rate to actually hit the building where it should have been hit, or where they were trying to hit it.
Which is rarely achievable.
And
even
not
by
only that,
some
but it's the
experts.
Pentagon. Why weren't planes dispatched like immediately when they knew it was on the way? They knew it was coming. They saw it several miles away.
Then it would look bad at the government firing at a plane where people are in.
Sure, that's a good, but not if it was gonna. I don't think they would allow it to crash if that was the case.
Maybe they believe the security of the Pentagon.
Keep going, keep going. I know you have really good stuff.
So
Like the,
Are you going to mention?
So
they could
check
take
this
it-
one out.
They could take an airplane.
the government started a $1.2 billion project in the late 90s to reinforce the only part of the building that was struck by the plane.
What?
Yes. the part of the Pentagon that
Is that proven?
Yes, it's in the budget.
That's a fact.
Yes. The $1.2 billion went to fund a project for increasing security at the Pentagon. But when it was completed in 2000 or 1999, that was the only section of the building that was reinforced, and they never put any plans to reinforce the rest.
Do you know how many floors the Pentagon is? Like how tall it is?
No, but it's not
tall?
many.
It's
Doesn't
wide.
it go deep?
It does. It definitely goes into the
Underground.
ground. But as far as it's not, it's very small.
So that must have been.
I mean,
That's hard
less
to
than
hit
10
it
stories,
on
I
the
think,
side.
for sure.
Wow.
Especially when you see the screenshots of it hitting, which is my next point. The Pentagon has released. Initially, they only released 5 stills of it being hit from the security cameras. And there's only one, I believe, that is in a good viewing range, and then a gas station that's across the street. You see an explosion, but you never see a plane fly in
Never.
and hit it.
In any of them.
The 5 stills that they give, there's nothing in any of the images. It's blue sky, explosion, explosion, explosion.
No plane.
So a couple years later, they did release the footage, but the footage is still very blocky. Granted, it's not HD, but I don't think it should be blocky. I think they're still editing it. It's not a live streamed video, which the Pentagon has real video cameras. They don't have those gas station
Maybe it's revealing too
10
much.
frames a second or something like that. I mean, not
there
10
has to
frames
be
a second.
satellites that are constantly watching the Pentagon.
I'm sure there are. So,
Yeah, but-
anyways, what you do see is a very little slim white thing entering the frame in one shot that they released, but it's slim, so that makes a lot of people think that it was a missile and not a plane.
Interesting.
So, no large parts of the engines were found or identified. Every engine part has a number, and none of them were identified from American Airlines Flight 77. And no very large parts were found, such as an engine or a wing. None of that was found.
Is
It's
the
just
plane
little
even
things
missing?
in there. It blew up, quote unquote. So, yeah, it's missing.
Because if it was fake, then I mean, if the plane is missing,
Yeah, but they could fly the plane anywhere,
Yeah.
right? So at the time they found out that the Pentagon was going to be attacked, they actually sent out, I think it was 5 fighter jets that their orders were to fly out to the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where they did nothing and turned around. And that took them, I believe, an hour and a half. So while all this is while the Pentagon was hit and while the towers were hit, they flew these jets out into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean for no reason. And the pilots were like,
Keep them safe,
what?
I guess. Right?
What?
Keep the pilots safe?
They're fighter jets.
They're supposed to be attacking
Maybe they were going to the Bermuda Triangle
to get help
investigate.
from the
to go
Kraken.
through it and go
From
into
Triton.
the past and prevent it. Obviously,
So I'm going to move on to the towers. Everyone knows what happened. The planes hit. One tower was hit, and then a little while later, the second tower was hit.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. What's really interesting that everyone noticed, including many live newscasters, were saying how the buildings were falling free fall perfectly, just like a demolition that you've seen on
Yes,
something on
minutes.
TV, which is kind of strange. Both of them, when they fell within 10 seconds. And if a building was toppling over from some kind of damage, that would not happen. It would not happen that quickly. It had to have been, people claim, that it had to have been constructed to fall in such a way that it didn't fall on any surrounding buildings or damage significantly any other part of New York. I mean, it was one of the tallest buildings in New York. If not, was it the tallest?
Yes.
Yeah. in
I
the
know it's
world.
not in the world. No, it's not
It
in the
was.
world.
Yeah, it's on the
when they
ground.
were
Yeah,
first
you-
established.
So the molten metal they found at the bottom of the 2 buildings would have had to have been melted at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and that could not have happened from the jet fuel burning, which is what
Of
the
course, of
government
course.
claims.
yes, jet fuel can't melt dank memes.
Dank memes?
Yes. Let's move on.
Okay.
The dankiest.
It's obvious. It's just
What's
obvious.
really strange is Building 7,
Yes.
which was a building not anywhere. Well, I believe they said it was 300 feet or so from the buildings, fell as well.
Was demolished.
The same way they did, in under 10 seconds and perfectly flat, free fall. And it also had the molten metal, which no jet fuel got to that building. So how did that happen?
Do you know what Building 7 housed?
What did Building 7 house?
It was a 47-story skyscraper. It was part of the World Trade Center complex. It was not hit by an airplane, just like you said, and suffered minimal damage compared to other buildings much closer to the Twin Towers. If a fire caused Building 7 to collapse, it'd be the first ever fire-induced collapse of a steel frame high-rise. Not possible. 1,700 plus architects and engineers have signed a petition calling for a new investigation into the destruction of Building 7, specifying that it should include a full inquiry into the possible use of explosives because Building 7's collapse wasn't even mentioned in the 9/11 Commission report. Building 7 basically, it housed several intelligence and law enforcement agencies and the NYC Office of Emergency Management's Emergency Operations Center. So basically, in case of anything drastic happening in NYC, the response team is at Building 7. And that's the building that apparently was damaged by debris and made the collapse happen, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And in the rush to fund the war on terrorism, the war on waste seems to have been forgotten.
My 03 budget calls for more than $48 billion in new defense spending.
More money for the Pentagon when its own auditors admit the military cannot account for 25% of what it already spends.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
2.3 trillion with a T. That's $8,000 for every man, woman, and child in America. To understand how the Pentagon can lose track of trillions, consider the case of one military accountant who tried to find out what happened to a mere $300 million.
We know it's gone, but we don't know what they spent it on.
So I also thought this was interesting. A lady who lived extremely close to the building, her windows were blown in and the dust immediately flew in, and she let some scientists come there, private scientists, not government scientists, come in and test the dust, and the dust actually had explosive material found in it, which is also another very strange thing. Explosions, if you watch the live, this is the part that got me. Everything else is like, I don't know. This one to me is pretty convincing. If you watch the video as the buildings are falling 40 to 60 stories below the collapse line, you see little spurts coming out on all four sides of like dust, and implying that there was an explosion. As the building is falling, they're exploding 40 to 60 stories below each point. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty crazy. That is something that I can't explain very well on the podcast. You'd have to go Google it. It's really, really interesting. Many eyewitnesses report hearing explosions before the second plane. Mm-hmm. And one reason why the camera were, at the time, cell phone cameras were not really a thing and people weren't really walking around filming all the time. But you'll see that some people were filming before the first plane hit. And that is because they claim to have heard explosions and loud noises. So they pulled out their camera like, oh no, is something going to happen? What's going on? And then they heard the plane flying overhead and it hit. And so that's why there's quite a bit of footage from New York. Of course, it's also a touristy place, so I'm sure a lot of people had their cameras out just because it's their first time in New York or something. But others claim they pull out their camera because they heard explosions. So NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, did inspections on the building in 2000. The same company completed the 10,000-page report on why the towers collapsed the way they did. And in that report, now, of course, I didn't read a 10,000-page essay, but I trust the people who are crazy enough to really think that all this is true, really actually probably did read the whole report and say that there is no mention of how the building actually fell, which is the point of the report. All it did the entire time was deny other ways, which were explosion and intent, essentially, from our own government, which I thought was pretty sad, honestly. 10,000 pages That's a lot of pages to BS.
Come on,
know?
you've written an essay and just like I just gotta BS this.
No, I've never done that. Actually,
never get around to the point. Just fill up some words.
I'm happy to say I've never done that.
Melania Trump.
Oh.
All right, so this one's very interesting. I'm done with the towers. I'm done with the buildings and the pilots. That's really all I got to say about those things. This is post the attacks. When the first plane hit, Bush was actually at an elementary school doing a reading. And there's a video of him doing this reading, and a Secret Serviceman runs to him, whispers in his ear, and runs away. Right? This is estimated about the time the first plane hit.
So he's just like, 1 fish, 2 fish.
Yeah.
Red fish.
World Trade Center's down. So what happened after that, you think he would get up immediately and do something, but actually he sat there with the children for another 20 whole minutes without even moving or flinching or getting any more information about what happened. Later, Bush is caught lying.
To take in.
What?
Later, Bush is caught lying, well, quote unquote lying, on live television. He claims to have been watching the first plane hit the tower live on TV just before reading at the elementary school.
I mean,
when there's video
Bush.
of him being informed
You're the
about
leader of the free world. Get up and do something about it. The children do not need to listen to you read for another 20 minutes.
Wait, he kept reading or
Yes.
just sat there?
No, he kept reading. Well, I mean, it was on. It was like he read and then the teacher read and then they asked questions with the kids.
Just stay there.
He really wanted
for
to know
nearly
the book
another
finished.
half an hour.
Anyways, that's not the crazy part to me. The crazy part is that he would later claim that he watched on live television.
He said this?
Yes, he said this.
He's not too smart though. It's not his fault.
And this is the even crazier part, okay? There was no footage released of the first plane hitting the tower until after the second tower was hit, because no TV cameras were focusing on the tower at the time, obviously, because nothing was happening.
But you said the explosions, right? Or was that the second one?
Right, but not news,
TV cameras.
not TV
News.
cameras. Those are just civilians. So civilians have to submit that to the news. The news has to look over it, approve it. So there actually was no live television feed of the first plane being hit, and that's what he says he saw, was it live on TV.
And you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to wonder exactly what President George W. Bush knew about the attack and when he knew it. Here's what George Bush himself said almost 3 months later when asked about September 11th.
I was sitting outside the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. The TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot. And it said it must have been a horrible accident.
How could George Bush have seen what he said he saw?
So
he also said, "What is it? Fool me once." Shame on me.
He said a lot of dumb stuff.
Fool me twice.
But listen, we say a lot of dumb stuff on the podcast, so yeah.
We're also not the president of the United States of America.
So,
fool me once.
One more thing. Even the principal, when he heard this statement, was confused and confirmed to a news station that there are no TVs in any of the rooms that the president was in that day. So even if he had been watching, where would he watch it? Because the principal of the school
Listen, Jason, this is simple. This is
He
incredibly
forgot it was at
simple.
the school.
Every president is cloned, obviously, because what if one of them dies? So
True.
We have one Bush reading. What president has time to read books to children?
Bush to Bush.
Listen, that was just a fake one.
What president has time to be on Between Two Ferns? Apparently, this one.
That's the clone.
Not even if he dies, if he refuses to take orders from the people giving them.
Listen,
they have
that's
the
not
clone.
how it works. Clones both have the same ideals because they're made from the same
They have the
DNA.
same morals.
Obviously, Joseph.
Come on.
I forgot that.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a second. What are these presidents doing with our time and tax dollars? Like, just traveling around the world and
Living the
shaking
dream.
people's hands.
That's what it is to be
Dude,
president.
they're puppets.
It's the easiest job.
That's the answer I was looking for, Kyle. Thank you. Moving on.
They're not puppets. That's Sesame Street.
So, many people think that this whole fiasco was planned to enact several things. Of course, the war in Iraq over oil and whatnot. Several other things.
Illuminati.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Yes, that as well. And
Imaginary.
another thing that I think is more probable was to enact the Patriot Act, which was written within 1 month of this attack happening. I don't know very many acts that are written that fast and then approved that fast.
Yeah, I saw Scandal. It took them like months.
To what?
I just admitted that I saw Scandal on the podcast.
I don't know what that is.
You can take that out.
What the?
So anyways, basically, if anyone doesn't know what that is, the Patriot Act, in a summary, lets the government observe you through wiretapping, etc., in case they would like to find what they call, quote-unquote, lone wolves, which are people who are acting outside of an organization or people who are acting within an organization. So basically, if they suspect you of anything, they can just tap everything you have, and it's actually within the law to do so.
That's the Patriot Act.
Yes, this is the Patriot Act. There's more to it than that, but that's the summary of they can get what information they can without your permission get any information about you they want, essentially.
Government doesn't need to do all this. All they need to do is just follow us on Instagram. I mean, we're just at the Millennials Podcast.
The government already follows us in every way possible.
Really? Yo, we got that follow? I didn't see that notification.
Yeah.
We're
You're
on Twitter and
to.
Facebook too. All right, this is the one thing I wanted to close with, because this is the biggest problem I have with not the World Trade Center thing, but with all conspiracy theories in general.
Aliens.
No. That how do you keep so many people quiet? Like, people can't even keep a secret in a friend group sometime about someone's surprise party. How are you keeping all these people secret?
Well,
how
you
are
make them
keeping all these
commit
people
suicide.
quiet
Yeah,
about-
you make them commit suicide, or you just give them some money.
Make it seem like they commit suicide.
Sure. But what would stop me from from taking the money and then just exposing you anyways?
The people who commit suicide.
Suicide. All right, so this is what I wanted to say about that. How can you keep so many people quiet? And the short answer is compartmentalization, right? So I'm going to give a really quick example. The Manhattan Project was a research and development project that produced the first nuclear weapons during World War II, and it was the United States leading it, supported by the UK and Canada. This happened between
Canada?
Yep.
Canada was involved in something?
They were in testing nuclear things, yes.
That's and I just never hear about war or nuclear anything with Canada. I'm really excited right now.
So from 1942 to 1946, the project was under the direction of Major General Leslie Groves. That's 4 whole entire years that more than 130,000 people were employed by this project and working on it. But it was still kept secret. Even Vice President Harry Truman didn't find out about it until after Roosevelt died. He was then informed about the Manhattan Project. So this is a quote from General Groves himself. "The compartmentalization of knowledge is the heart of security. Only know what you need to know and nothing else." So if you have...
It's a very militant way of thinking.
Well, yeah, he's a general. So I think... even though I'm still very skeptical of so many conspiracy theories, especially about the part about keeping everyone quiet, that is true. If you have several, these things are so huge to pull off usually that if you had 7 teams, but each team was working on something totally different and completely separated from everything else, and all they know is, for example, let's say the moon landing actually was faked, right? And it was filmed at Area 51.
It's obvious.
The people who constructed Area 51 were just like, we're building a government building, we're going to need some special lights and put some sand over here, and they didn't tell them anything about it. They're just like, just do your job. And then the next people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, on.
You only tell the people what they need to know so they can get the job done, and then nothing more than that.
Exactly. Which I think is very plausible. I still think it's just so crazy how it's obvious they get away with some things because... I mean, just look at history. Forget anything recent. Just look at history. All the insaneness that the government's pulled off.
And plus, if they're
I wouldn't doubt a lot of the things that go on now.
Yeah, and if they're offering these people whatever amounts of money and guaranteeing their families security and blah, 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 like their finances, their kids' schooling, whatever. I don't know what they're offering, but it could be something huge, and they might not want to screw that up.
True.
Also,
And threats. That too.
And threats.
Also, there are plenty of like people who come forward and like they're like ex-astronauts and stuff like that who claim that they don't believe things happened, like the moon landing. Astronauts that claim that they don't think the moon landing happened. And we sort of just dismiss them as crazy wackos because they don't have all the information.
Yep.
Because of compartmentalization.
It's true. We're all compartmentalized.
We all are. And we don't even know it. Because we're compartmentalized.
Yep.
Hence why we don't know it. Because we're compartmentalized.
Hence, therefore.
Let's say that word again.
Compartmentalized.
Hence.
Compartmentalizado.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that's how you say it.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying the words backwards again?
Empanizado. What is
No,
it?
that's an empanada. Carne empanizado. That's something different.
I'm so hungry. That's what I want right now.
Anyways, but what the heck do we know? We're just a bunch of people under 30 rambling about the government.
We're just a bunch of mice in the maze.
We're just mice in the maze, man.
I
Just
didn't know
mice
about
in the
the
maze, man.
Because I didn't want to die.
It's mice in the maze.
We're just-
If for some
least we're
reason
woke.
you don't
Oh.
see,
Oh!
Not like you sheeple out there.
Stay woke.
Follow us.
woke as fuck.
Follow us if you want to be woke like us.
Bro, you're so woke, man. How
I
you get
know.
so woke?
You know how you stay woke? You rate us on iTunes.
rate us and
Stars.
email us
Hashtag
with your
woke.
favorite conspiracy theories at the millennialspodcast@gmail.com.
Come on, guys. We really want to
We wanna
hear from
know.
you guys.
We want to know what you want to hear next.
We want to know if we convinced any of you. If you had
China.
no idea, if your whole life, some people their whole lives didn't even think about the moon landing maybe being fake. If that was you, I want to hear from you.
Fools.
And please don't settle
Hashtag
on what
millennials
we've just,
believe if you
Whoa.
believe any of the ones we did.
And please don't settle on just what we've shared today. You're probably laughing, thinking you guys are total idiots, and that's totally okay.
And we are.
But do the research yourself. Look at the photographic evidence.
Question.
Read up on the hearings and the reports that have been published. Do it yourself. Don't just take what we're saying.
We're
as
downplaying
fact.
all these theories because they were listening.
We ain't know
They're-
what a
I
great
just
They're coming
say-
after us.
Most of these conspiracies are so huge that all we
Huge.
can really do is believe
Huge.
them or not, you know?
China.
So like,
China.
we can't really even know
Yeah,
for a
Mitch.
fact if these videos
You know what
or
else sucks,
testimonies are like, without a reasonable doubt, we don't know if it's true.
Top secret files become unclassified after 75 years, which means the JFK shooting
Is it gonna be
files
free-
are
available?
coming up. But you know they can just doctor them. How do we ever know?
There's no way we would know.
There's no way we would know. So it's like, cool, they're unclassified, but some
They're
people
probably
will
already
take
doctored.
it. Some
They've
people,
probably been for 75 years.
some people will take it as, what is it called?
Bible.
That's what's coming to my mind. Take it as gospel. Some people will take whatever it says as gospel, even though it more than likely has been doctored, and it's just like so frustrating.
They win again.
So frustrating. They win no matter what.
What does it matter? You know? What can we do about that?
Die.
Nothing.
That's a great way to end it. What does it matter if any of these
So
are
I say
true?
just, like, be happy. Go exercise. Live your life.
Yeah.
What matters is
Pokemon.
What if they're
you
stopping
can
you
either
from-
live
Don't let yourself
blind
be
doing
taken
it.
or
advantage
aware.
of, but don't let it be your obsession.
Watch Stranger Things, catch Pokemon, be a happy millennial, or any other generation that's listening.
No, you're going to be a fool if you just do those things and you're not aware.
No, follow the herd. Follow the
Nice
herd.
to the government, Ashley.
There's an okay book out there by Noah Cicero.
Poor
Cicero,
Noah.
I
It's
think
just
is how you say it.
okay.
It's called Go to Work and Do Your Job. Care for your children. Pay your bills. Obey the law. Buy products.
I hope we don't want this guy as a sponsor because
I
that
know,
was a shitty
it's
delivery.
just okay. That's
This book is
No,
just
no,
okay.
we don't need- no.
Noah put his life into that book.
I don't know.
And you're just like, this book
He was
is just
shot because of it.
I mean,
He
look at
was
this cover.
faked his own suicide because of it.
This cover screams okay.
The
Go to
cover-
work, do your
the
job,
cover is-
care for your children.
You guys gotta look up the cover. It's
pay your
pretty
bills,
sick.
obey the law. What's the last one?
Buy products.
And it's a guy
On a chair
about to hang himself.
with a noose.
That is essentially what a system would want you to do.
And
Just
then
But
stay,
what do all
stay
the
in
first-
their template so we can keep getting paid.
But it didn't say work out. I said work out.
Because that keeps you happy.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, work out.
It
Live
keeps you
longer.
fit and you live longer. They don't want that.
Yeah, so I'm telling them to work
They're
out.
tired
I'm
of
telling us to
extending
work out. I
Social
need to work
Security.
out. Just got my moves back.
Oh, you have to give me a verdict.
Yeah, grade him.
All right, my verdict for you.
No, not for me. For this conspiracy.
You are the conspiracy. Okay.
He's a pilot.
You get a solid B.
Just B.
That's it?
No minus, no plus.
I got an A plus and he got a B.
You always get
thought you
A's.
got a C?
Listen,
But he did really good with the World Trade Center.
listen, but
I got a C. I thought I did a good job.
I think you had some extra credit, Kyle, for making me laugh with Kanye. So I'm gonna bring you up a grade or two.
See, that's why you got to kiss the teacher's ass.
Yeah.
Ew.
Figuratively. Come on now.
Yeah, you got a solid B. It was pretty good, but
there's holes.
Yeah, it's the normal 9/11. Yeah,
Heard it.
Yeah,
heard it.
There's probably already children's
You knew
books
that
about
about Building
9/11
7?
that
George Bush is reading
Obama
to
is
other
reading
That
to children.
Obama's reading to children.
Did you know that about Building 7? Did you know that about the Pentagon?
Can you count to Building 7? 1.
South Tower, North Tower.
That's why he's not a C and he's a B.
Okay. All joking aside, these are all just theories, and we're just poking fun really at the theories themselves, and not really what happened, because those are definitely serious things.
For sure.
Yeah, no matter what the intent was, real actual people died. So.
Or were affected by it long term.
Yeah.
We all were.
And that's
really.
not funny.
I mean, I'm not. Obviously, we're not in this room directly that I know of connected to any
Each
people.
of these events.
Yeah, I think the humor lies in when people take these theories way too seriously, and start like almost being more concerned with the conspiracy than the lives that were lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We can all agree that my theory is most likely true. Out of everyone.
That's true. I think yours is the most plausible.
Thank you. And it's all because China.
Mine has
China.
evidential.
No.
proof.
Yeah, I don't think the ones you mentioned are theories at all.
No. But
this is
basically,
what
I'm
happens,
saying
and they
is
hit it.
the theory is that what I've shared is knowledge of what the government has done in the past. But there was a point in time when the U.S. had no idea, like U.S. civilian society, had no idea the government was doing this.
Yeah, right.
So
But that means
basically-
now it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just fact that they did these things.
Yes, but at a time they said they stopped, and then we discovered they didn't. So who's to say
It's a
what
conspiracy
they're doing
law.
now is a conspiracy, like these certain apps or whatever, maybe, or like what's to the extent, like if they could do that back then, 50 years ago, can you imagine what they're doing right now? It's all a lie.
It's all a lie.
Near
It's
piss,
all
near
a lie.
passage.
Hello, lost. Hello, lost. Hello, lost.
Hello, lost it.
Hello, lost it.
Hello,
lost it.
It all started with Candace and Katie, two friends who wanted to change the conversation about sex within the context of marriage. With their free sex podcast and Marriage Supply, they're motivating couples from all over the U.S. to grasp the views of their love life in a new light. Marriage Supply is the perfect site for couples searching for products to incorporate into the bedroom. With a plethora of products ranging from toys to protection, Marriage Supply provides you and your spouse with everything you both may desire for your sex life, all on a safe and secure website. So go check it out at marriagesupply.com.